at the Cusco, in those walls over there, 26 different sides, 26 corners. Imagine, it's like a very complicated puzzle. How do you put not only first row, but third and fourth row with so many corners? How do you put it together? Today, we would be probably using 5 or 10 cranes to try to kind of, put them together. Or if they were made during the geopolymerization process, it would be much easier. You pour them and you have pieces of wood or something in between. Then you remove the wood or you remove some type of very thin material, and then you are getting such a perfect connection.
Molds, right? Exactly. And that's why they're earthquake proof. And this polygonal cement, exactly. Why none of them are parallel or the same. Everyone is different, and exactly for that purpose.
Very important feature that you just mentioned, earthquake proof. When the Spaniards came in the 16th century, they basically demolished, they destroyed most of the pre-Incan structures, and they were building their palaces and churches and cathedrals. When there was a catastrophic earthquake in 1950s in Peru, it destroyed all the European construction, exposing pre-Inca structures over there, and they were intact. When you build structure with different size blocks, you don't have 2 blocks the same size. Sometimes very small, in between 5 or 6 much bigger ones. You are right. During the earthquake, it does not collapse, but it locked better together. So we can see all kind of miracles over there. And I was talking about the Machu Picchu, the second civilization, tens of tons. The third one, they were using uniform blocks between 500 kilos and 2 tons. That reminds me a lot to ancient Roman building. And the fourth one, after thousands of years, Incas rediscovered this lost city in Andes on the top of the mountain. And what they did, they used small rocks, making divisions, making primitive roofs. And this is where they were bringing royals.
Literally just piling stones on top of each other was the best they could do. They couldn't even cut stones, yet our modern archaeologists try to give them credit for building all of it. It's just
right. And you read any reference, you will see Machu Picchu, royal retreat for ancient Incas. I mean, they came the last, and they were the most primitive. We don't see evolution. On the contrary, we see devolution. So those tens of thousands of years ago, they were the most advanced. Instead of what they teach us, that we are the most intelligent and the most beautiful, well, we are not.
How accurate is carbon dating? I've heard some studies say that they're going to be 1,000 to 2,000 years of discrepancy between certain results.
Today you can radiocarbon date up to 54,000 years. But deeper you go, the error is bigger and bigger. The error can be 10%, even 20%. But in the case of Bosnian pyramids, if it is 30,000 years, if you are 10% off, really, 27,000 or 33,000, it does not mean a lot. It is extremely old.
I agree with that, but you're claiming they're more recent than that. For example, like there was a study done in 1971 where seals that were immediately killed at that point in time, they were like 46. They radiocarbon dated them right when they killed them, and it said they're 46,000 years old or something like that. Maybe my number's a little bit off, but it's something ridiculous like that. So
I agree. It's always important if your samples are not contaminated, how you treat them and stuff like that. But listen, this is the state of our science. Right now we have those 3 methods, and we use all 3 of them. Radiocarbon, we've done the most, but then uranium-thorium analysis, that one is much more precise. We've done analysis in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels of the stalagmites. So you have stalactites on the ceiling.
Wow.
The water is dropping, you have stalagmites growing, and the stalagmites can be dated through the uranium-thorium analysis, which we did at the Institute for Geology of the Czech Academy of Sciences. The age was 19,000 plus minus 1,000 years. Now, it takes time for the stalagmites, for the surface to prepare, probably a few thousand years. So again, we go back more than 20,000 years. So everything we do really is taking us so deep in the past.
So also, in terms of the history, like a couple of things, like one is like you look again at Visoko in Bosnia, and you cannot find a point in history before, like prehistory, where this thing isn't already there. Like they're building things or have met legends of them. The Bosnian heathen kings are establishing themselves above the clouds and the top of the Visoko. It's like it's all like there's nothing before it, like, so there's that. And then in terms of radiocarbon dating, yeah, there's problems. Like it could be like, you know, radioactive volcanoes are putting off radiation, or there's different ways we can look at it than years. We could be looking at it at like the amount of radiation that's breaking down carbon. So it could be that there's certain things that happened, including atomic volcanoes like Oklo and Gabon went off, right, and that created a bunch of discrepancies in radiocarbon dating.
Well, there's another example of like an English castle that they had records of it being built in 750, and the results came back that it was 7,300 or 400 years old.
Because the stones, the parts of it are older. Yeah, but this is all. See, the thing is, the Visoko pyramids underneath concrete. So it's not something. It's like it's more like a time capsule. So for these pieces that have been in concrete to be dated, it's different than something that's like, oh, I grabbed these thousands of years old stones
like
and then
Sam
put them
just
together.
Stated the stalactites. That's itself, right?
That's
the whole pyramid has to be dug. The tunnel has to be made before the stalactite can even start forming. And then, like he stated, with when they got the biological material from beneath the polygon or the geopolymer outer layers of the pyramid top or casing, that would have been the dates that, you know, they laid it and built it. Anything below that, obviously, you know, it was still dirt. And that it's terraforming on such large scales, right? It's these entire mountain valleys. And the picture I have up right now is of, believe, Machu Picchu. And if it's not Machu Picchu, it's one of the other close by there. The whole point being that it's just mountain valleys and valleys of these terraformed terraces, infrastructure, and like it's the same as Michael Tellinger's found South Africa, and it's actually the same as what I've actually found in Alberta, Canada, in a lot of spots. But Sam, you were talking about the different ages. So the terracing here that we see on the sides of Machu Picchu and throughout what they claim is Inca, what generation would you say this is?
And yeah, also, do you think that underneath part of the Bosnian pyramid terrace that's been buried, or was it like that at some point?
Okay, what you are showing there, this is the photo from Urubamba Valley, on the way from Cusco to Machu Picchu. There are terraces like this. Now, lately, by Incas, they were used for the agriculture, but in some cases, they were part of much larger structures. When it comes to Bosnia, in science, one thing is very important, and that's consistency. When it comes to dating, since Bosnian pyramids are covered by soil and vegetation, the first question is, what is the age of the soil? The science that investigates the soil is called pedology. So we have Institute for Pedology in Bosnia. They came, they took samples from the sun and the moon pyramid. And their conclusion, the soil is between 12 and 15,000 years. So this is the coverage, meaning the constructions are much older. And then during the excavation, our Italian pair of archaeologists, they discovered on the top of the blocks organic material. So it's going to give us the minimum age of the structure. We analyze it, 24,800 years plus minus 200 years. So we go back for 25,000 years, and that's the minimum age. And then once we discovered organic material between two blocks, like in the sandwich, we got 29,200 years plus minus 400 years. So we can see the consistency. It's not like that we discovered one piece of organic material and then we got a date. And then you are completely right. When it comes to stalactites and stalagmites, you have to have a hollow space. You have to have tunnels for the stalagmites to form. You have to have a hollow. So the water was dropping, stalagmites was growing. The tunnels was already there for more than 20,000 years. That's the age of the stalagmites. So the tunnel is obviously much older. So And right now we have 28 datings so far. We also dated stalagmites not only with uranium thorium, but also with radiocarbon date. In other stalagmites, it was 26,200 years. So you see how everything is basically in that era of close to 30,000 years. So we know that these structures are extremely old, but they are not the only one in the world. It's a shame that when the mainstream archaeologists are working on some projects, let's say the Maya civilization, we had this woman from New York, she was professor at the university, and they were doing research in Belize. They discovered organic material. They discovered artificially made seeds. Somebody was playing with the seeds in the agriculture. She got more than 5,000 years, and she published that without asking her project manager or dean at the faculty, and they fired her because she was going more than 2,000 years deeper in the past than what they accepted officially. Like I said, we have so many interesting sites around the world, and they are much deeper in the past than what they teach us, and it's a shame they don't share that with the public. They want to keep us limited to 5,000-6,000 years, saying, "Oh, we are still at the infant phase. We are babies, and we need, someone who's going to lead us, elites, and so on." No,
I don't necessarily think they say that though. But go ahead, Xirtus.
I'm muted. I don't know. They say a lot of things. They're probably, terrible people. No, but there's generalizations. Like, what kind of people, like, is anybody? My question is more like, if you think about 30,000 years ago, from what we're saying 30,000 years ago was like, kind of, we know that there were more hominids. There are different kinds of humans wandering around. There's Neanderthal, and yeah, so the Denisovans. So it makes you kind of, on Heidelbergensis, it makes you kind of wonder, like, if, are we talking about different kinds of humans, different kinds of hominids that are building this, maybe, or something? Are we talking about
the new science called anthropological genetics follow the movement of the people around the world? We know that humans in Europe were present first in the territory of Basques. Basques are Spain and the southern France for 55,000 years, and the second oldest oasis in Europe are the Balkan region, and Bosnia is in the central Balkan for 38,000 years. So if the pyramids in Bosnia were built 33,000 years, there is a possibility that it was built by humans, but not by the primitive Paleolithic man. He did not have means, transportation methods, or tools, or the ideas or designs to do that. Now, when we think, is it possible that at one time, in a short period of time, people were having access to very advanced information? Well, theoretically, it is possible. I mean, look what we did, our civilization. In the 19th century, we were almost in the Middle Age technology, and in 150 years, we went to the cosmic voyages. So it is possible that in one very short period of time, humans advanced so much. Maybe it happened before, maybe it did not. Now, your question, who? Now, is it possible that some very powerful, intelligent forces for some other dimensions around us were able to materialize stuff to build the pyramids? I would say it is possible. Number three, is it possible that somebody from outside of this planet, maybe hominid looking, but not Homo sapiens, they came, they built the network of the pyramids around our galaxy? It is possible. But right now, we don't have a proof for that. Number four, is it possible that some other intelligent beings, but off this planet, they've been around for millions of years, they built it, and they maybe lived in, let's say, hollow Earth, if it is hollow? Probably that's possible also. In 1950s and 1960s, the US patented the technology to build the underground tunnels under the US. And really, this technology is such that there is a machine going through the earth, going through the stones, 2,000 degrees temperature. It's melting the stone. It is like
powered
glass-like structures building. And it seems that in two different situations, they discovered huge caves with the beings hanging from the ceiling, like bats, but they were not bats. They were more like reptoid-like. And they said they've been in hibernated states for millions of years, meaning that we are not the first one on our home planet. So I'm scientist, open-minded, but still scientist. I need proof who really built it right now. I don't have it for Bosnian or Chinese or all these Egyptian pyramids or all these Mexican. So all the options are at the table right now.
So yeah, judging by some of those theories,
master builder race.
You put some of those.
You've got an open mind. You got
those theories ahead of Neanderthal, though. You don't think it's like that Neanderthal were more advanced.
Well, so Neanderthal would probably be like the fourth or like the third. You know, like the giant.
We don't know. We have no idea how Neanderthal were like. Well, we have like after volcanoes, we think Neanderthal had no culture, basically, right? That's ridiculous because they have these amazing refined skills of making flints that probably come from some greater culture. We don't know. I mean, the idea that they made concrete. The descendants of the Neanderthal are often like there are people in these regions like that in Malta and in the Balkans that love to make concrete, and they have like Neanderthals, secrets about it.
Neanderthals were a little bit bigger than us. Their brain capacity was even bigger than ours. However, Neanderthals who disappeared 25,000 years back, it seems that for me they were on the top of the animal pyramid. On the top. But then all of a sudden, 400,000 years ago, Homo sapiens sapien appeared, which was totally new kind of species, intelligent, artistic.
From the bottom of
God. 2 pair of chromosomes less. And biologically looking, Neanderthals were perfectly fit for this planet. They were perfectly adjusted. Only the strongest survived. You know, the species, so meaning the strongest survived, meaning not the sick Neanderthals were, reproducing, but only the strongest one, without any genetical problems. And then all of a sudden, you have a species, Homo sapiens, who come there with 5,000 genetical flaws. How is it possible? Neanderthals, chimpanzee, gorillas had 2 or 3 because they were perfectly adjusted for this planet. And then you have Homo sapiens, intelligent, much more intelligent, with all these flaws. It seems that there was a genetical engineering done at a certain point in time, but they combined the species, the most advanced, probably Neanderthals, with their own genetic materials, which was not adjusted to this planet, and that's why we have those 5,000 flaws. In the real life, meaning we have 5,000 possibilities to get cancer in this life, TBC, all kinds of diseases. And that's the price we have to pay. Now,
who is they?
The next question is, of course, who and why did they create us? And it seems that somebody mentioned our friend Michael Tellinger, and it seems that it had something to do with the gold mines in South Africa. They were coming, picking up the gold mines, because really the traces of those gold mines being old tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, are found there. And most probably our first role was to be slaves to our creators and to dig gold for them.
Does that explain something?
Yes.
In some historical sources where you have multiple versions of humanity, is that kind of what you're talking about? Is that they've experimented multiple times of what works the best, of like their perfect cattle? Are you saying like we're like some sort of like cattle for them or livestock? Or
well, again, let's go back to the science. Now, the only sources that describe
anthropology, and so it's like Neanderthal would potentially or essentially most likely be Sasquatch, and that the elongated skulls were like the
Homo capensis,
the demigods that genetically edited us with some of their material, and then the so the Devonian would have been the demigods. The I guess it would be Neanderthal genetically would be the elongated skulls, and then we're
that's supposed to be Homo capensis. But wait,
right? Because it's like there's one.
Yeah. So, but the idea that Bigfoot is Sasquatch is another hominid. It's important. It's relevant. But Sam, what were you about to say?
Okay, this is where, again,